Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to just discuss the difference between cylindrical locks and tubular locks as it pertains to determining backset of the lock prep based on the parts that you're looking at. The definition of backset is roughly the edge of the door to the center of the hole, regardless of what the hole is for, but that's what the definition is. Edge of the door to the center of the hole, whether it's a 1.25" hole for a rim cylinder or an 1.5" hole for a special deadbolt, or it's a 2 1/8 hole for a cylindrical or tubular lock, or whatever it is. Now, the definition of backset is the dimension, again, from the edge of the door to the center line of that hole, but if you have a beveled edge door, the dimension is taken as the center of the thickness of the door to the edge of the hole. Just a quick segue. If you were to measure the door on the pull side, if it's a beveled door, that tape measure is going to tell you the door is a specific width if you measured the width of the door. But if you measured the opposite side of the door, the width, it would be a different dimension. And that's the bevel of the door. Now the backset is determined from the center of the thickness of the door to the center of that hole. Okay, so if your door is 1 3/4 thick, the backset is really 7/8 in. If 7/8 and 7/8 is 1 3/4, it's 7/8 in, and that's the backset. So there you go. Now, a cylindrical lock is also called a bored lock or a bored-in type lock. The term bored, cylindrical, bored-in describes how the device fits into a round hole that has been bored or drilled into the edge of the door, the face of the door, through the door. The door preparation is simple, and the device is limited in some functions when compared to other types of locks, namely mortise locks. Okay, so bored, the term cylindrical is equal to bored is equal to how the device fits through a round hole. Okay. Now the term tubular is a type of bored lock, fits into a hole, where the latch bolt is contained within a tube. Rough definition. I have an example of a cylindrical lock or a bored lock here. Here it is. This housing fits into that bored hole. Okay. The latch bolt in a cylindrical lock is not contained within the tube. It connects to the edge of the chassis, as here. I've got it on. Okay. It connects inside of to the outside rim of the chassis itself. If the backset is 2 3/4, there's nowhere on this piece that you can measure 2 3/4. If the backset's 2 3/8 and this latch bolt was for 2 3/8, there's nowhere on this piece where you measure 2 3/8 because the 2 3/8 or 2 3/4 is a reference to backset, edge of the door to the center of the hole. Okay, this happens to be a 2 3/4 latch bolt. So roughly, edge of the door to the center of the hole is going to be 2 3/4. Now, a tubular lock, residential in nature. This happens to be a universal backset, so we can demonstrate both backsets, 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. And there are other backsets, by the way, but those are the two most common. The latch bolt is contained inside of the tube, as you see there. Okay. I can install this for 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. Latch bolt contained inside of the tube. There is a place on here where I can measure. Because the latch bolt's contained within the tube of the lock, I can therefore measure the 2 3/8 or 2 3/4 on this latch bolt. Edge of door to center of the lock. Edge of the door to the center of the smaller hole is 2 3/8, and then to the back side is 2 3/4. Let's test that on the lock. So if you are in a position where you have a lock part and it's cylindrical in nature and you're wondering, how do I know if this is 2 3/8 or 2 3/4, you really don't. And it's because, well, you can guess, because this is going to connect to the edge of that lock chassis, which is about 2 inch in diameter. You could take half of that and add that, let's say, roughly 1 inch to this dimension, and you'll be close. Really, to look at a latch bolt and know if it's 2 3/8 or 2 3/4 is just based on, I suppose, experience and looking at a lot of latch bolts through a career. Edge of the door to the center of the tubular 2 3/4. Okay. That latch bolt's a little kicked over. It's bent out, so it's not looking exactly like 2 3/4. There it is. If I move that over to 2 3/8, we'll be able to measure the same dimension at 2 3/8. Okay. Like I said, you can measure 2 3/8 or 2 3/4 on a tubular latch, and you cannot. There's nowhere on here it's 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. Okay. Again, it's the edge of the door to the center line of the hole is how latch bolts are defined. If you say you need a 2 3/4 latch bolt, it won't measure 2 3/4. It'll just be longer than 2 3/8. If there are any questions on board cylindrical versus tubular, how to determine backsets, or any other lock question, we encourage those questions. We take deep pride in our technical expertise, so please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you.